What's up, everybody? It's Grim, and you're watching Thrash Maniac 99 Wrestling, Gaming, and Metal videos. Hit the real intro.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to yet another episode of the Horsemen podcast. This is episode 9! Yeah, we are
I'm
at...
not going to say it.
The Hitler meme right now. The inglorious bastards Hitler.
Oh, already off to a comedic start. Well, this is episode 9 of the Horsemen podcast, and we're going to break tradition for this episode. Instead of doing a list, we're here to discuss a couple of topics. But before we reveal those topics, I'd like to introduce everyone in this round table. Of course, yours truly, Thrash Maniac 99, the new head honcho of this fucking ship. I'm the captain! So, joining me, of course, welcome back, who wasn't here last time, please welcome back the most insane man from Portugal, Artur Felipe Castana.
Oh, man. Get me some Walter!
Of course. Walter from NXT UK. And of course, returning, we have Ricky, a.k.a. Horror Master.
Yellow!
And then last but certainly not least, our favorite German chick. Please welcome Hannah Klein.
9999.
How many do we know?
Rob, did you speak?
Oh, shit. So, for this week, we are doing two different discussions, but then again, they could be kind of linked together. We're talking about fashion and censorship in metal. How do we feel about it in our respective areas? And also, because it's fashion and metal, we're wearing our favorite metal merch today. Or things, in the case of Hannah and Ricky with their vests. And Artur with his. I'm vestless, but at least I have a badass t-shirt to accommodate.
You should get one.
Make yourself.
I've always wanted to get one, I just can never find denim shirts or jackets to cut up.
Just go
This is
into
leather.
any thrift
This is
store,
leather.
you will get them.
Yeah. I mean, eventually it'll happen. But yeah, so from what I can tell, I think, Hannah, I didn't quite catch what your shirt said. Oh, is it a Vakken shirt? Vakken 2014.
2000. Yep.
And
The
you
year
got,
I saw Slayer.
Paradise Lost here.
Ricky, what do you have?
I got Johnny Cash says it's his birthday today.
Oh yeah, happy birthday, Johnny Cash, if he was still here. And of course, my favorite shirt, my Broken Hope shirt, because more people need to listen to this band.
Yes, I listened to them last night.
And let's start right now with a bit of the fashion. Who are the bands that have been ripped off the most for H&M, Primark, Sears, or whatever t-shirts the most?
Ramones.
I name one right now. The
Metallica.
Misfit.
Metallica, Pink Floyd.
Ramones.
Yeah, Ramones.
Misfit. I said the Misfit. Nirvana.
AC/DC,
Maiden.
Guns N' Roses,
Beatles.
the Beatles,
Beatles. No, but
Yeah.
I won't say the Beatles that much because the more shirts I see out here on the streets are Ramones, Nirvana, Misfits, and more recently Metallica.
Yeah,
But
I mean, I saw Slayer shirts in an H&M.
and here's where we start. Fashion in metal.
Yes.
Most people look at the shirts that we wear and think, is this a brand or whatever? I mean, Paradise Lost. Nobody knows Paradise Lost unless they read Edgar Allan Poe or Oscar Wilde or some of the more unknown writers, or they hear the band. And I got this from a festival, from from Vagos, as I usually go. I don't wear this because it's a fashion brand. I wear this because it's the band, and I love the most. Just like Hannah. Okay, Hannah wears Wacken. That's a whole different story. But Thrash Maniac wears Broken Hope because we love the band. We wear our shirts because we love the band. It's not because of a fashion statement. I mean, do any of these people ever listen, for instance, okay, Blitzkrieg Bop, Heart Shaped Box, American Psycho, or even Ride the Lightning or Master of Puppets?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Nope.
Then what are these big fashion brands or big retailers doing stuff just to appeal to the hipsters?
Could be. It could be. I mean, yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, as far as like my vantage point on, especially with celebrities, depending on who the celebrities are that are out there wearing metal shirts, like Kanye West, for example, wearing a Testament shirt, I don't believe he's a fan of Testament at all.
Or more recent,
Kill me.
Sorry. Were you saying, Ricky?
Fucking kill me. I hate it when it's
Or even, and this happened more recently, or this even happened last year, him wearing Cradle of Filth. Yeah.
I mean, I have a personal bias with Kanye West because I can't stand his fucking attitude. I mean, he may have a couple of good songs from what I've heard, but other than that, I feel he's one of the most overrated rappers of all time. And him wearing that pretty much is just him trying to appease to a bunch of different people, and it isn't working. Hell, I remember Alex Skolnick from Testament pretty much ripped him apart for wearing a Testament shirt because he knows Kanye ain't a real fan of Testament. I doubt he even knew who Testament was until he got that shirt.
Here's another one. A couple of years ago, Rihanna was in a fashion show. She was wearing a battle vest. And you had patches like Crocus, Judas Priest, Metallica, I think AC/DC, and probably Led Zeppelin. There were some bands that I knew she wasn't a fan of, like Crocus. I mean, it's doubtable that she listened to Crocus.
Yeah.
As if.
Exactly. Or here's another one. One of the Kim Kardashian sisters wearing a sort of Slayer shirt, but not really a Slayer shirt.
Yeah. And then Gary Holt to counter, kill the Kardashians.
Then again, the Kardashians are shit anyways.
Even one of the, and this is a bit off topic, but off and on topic. I mean, one of the Jenners, well, I think it was Kendall, she was wearing NWO Wolfpack. Has she ever heard of the NWO?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Nope.
I was gonna make a funny little joke about the Kardashians because, I mean, now that I think about it, Kim and Khloe are pretty much the same person but with different thickness. I'm actually not sure where I was going with that. Oh, I know. Asses. Laugh because asses.
That ass!
Quote Kamikaze Games, please. That was his joke. I wanted to throw that out there because you brought up Kardashians. I had to. But yeah, exactly. Like you brought up with that NWO shirt. Would they fucking know who they were unless they were a wrestling fan? No. Yeah. But yeah, as far as back with the Kanye thing, yeah, like as I said, I doubt he even knew who Testament or Cradle of Filth were before he got those shirts. Because he's not a real metal fan.
Just like recently, Iggy Azalea, I didn't even know who she was. She was wearing the Jesus is a cunt. Sorry. The Jesus is a whatever t-shirt and my Cradle of Filth. I mean, I don't know, but I've heard there was a pop star or whatever.
She's a rapper.
no,
shitty rapper.
The infamous. Yeah. No, but I've heard that a rapper or something wore the infamous Marduk. Me, Jesus.
Oh, God.
Oh, shit. Man, I forgot. I have it here on my head.
But still, I mean, who are they to know about some of these more extreme bands? I mean, Cradle, Marduk,
Yeah.
and this will piss Ricky off, but this happened some years ago here at the news show in Portugal. There was a girl who was wearing a Dark Side of the Moon cover of Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon t-shirt. And one of the guys who was at the show, I talked with him some years later, he said, "Hey, do you know Pink Floyd? Do you love this album?" "Who's Pink Floyd?" And when he said that, I was going with the same reaction that you all. Who is Pink Floyd? Who is Pink Floyd? Really?
What? You're wearing
Really?
the shirt.
Really?
You're wearing the fucking shirt. You're supposed to know.
Exactly. Oh,
Exactly.
It's like, okay, I'll give you an example. It's like, I'm not a big football fan. If I was wearing I don't know, the Patriots shirt, even though I hate the Patriots, if I were to wear this shirt, someone would ask me who's my favorite player or my favorite season. I wouldn't even know where to start because I don't know anything about the Patriots.
yeah. Let's get Hannah's take on it since we've been kind of going full bore at the start. Let's get Hannah get her thoughts on it.
Yeah.
Well, I once met a guy at a train station, and he was wearing a Metallica shirt. And crazy people at your college. And he was wearing a Metallica shirt, and I was like, "What's your favorite Metallica song?" And he was like, "Huh? What? Why are you asking me that?" And I was like, "I mean, you're wearing a band shirt from Metallica." And then he was like, "I didn't even know that I was wearing a band shirt." And I was like, "Then why are you wearing it?" I mean, usually when you meet somebody and he or she is wearing a metal shirt, you usually appreciate it. And I mean, you have this common topic where you can talk about. I mean, if you see somebody and I mean, if it's Artur and he's wearing his Paradise Lost shirt, of course you know that he is listening to this kind of band, and you can talk about the band and everything that's connected to the band. And the same goes to festivals or any other music. I mean, you know what kind of festivals somebody is into or some genres somebody is into, and you can talk about it. But if you're not listening to metal and you're just wearing the shirt for the sake of the shirt and you have no idea what it represents, I mean, you shouldn't wear it. That's my opinion on metal shirts. The same is, I mean, I don't listen to country music.
I don't either.
I wouldn't wear a Garth Brooks shirt.
Me neither.
If there's something like that around, or I mean, I wouldn't wear a Miley Cyrus shirt when it comes to pop music.
No.
Or, I mean, I don't listen to whatever, and I wouldn't even wear something like that. The same goes for sports. If I don't support something, I wouldn't wear it.
I would say that the biggest insult that someone would give Anna would be in Germany wearing a Rammstein shirt and not knowing a goddamn thing about it.
That would be so insulting.
Yeah. Yeah, and that story you just said, Hannah, about the dude wearing the Metallica shirt not knowing who Metallica was or a song. I wish I could have met them and fucking slapped the goddamn shit out of them.
I mean, I was like, dude, why are you wearing that?
Like, bitch, shut up.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, I mean, have this battery shirt, and it is too small for me. And my sister now wears it all of the time.
I was just noticing that someone was
Yeah.
sneaking behind Ricky watching the camera. Oh God.
But anyway, I've got
That
this
was funny.
battery shirt, this battery shirt with the goat on front of it, and my sister keeps wearing it, and she has no idea about battery. And then sometimes people come to her and ask her about black metal, and she doesn't have a clue.
It's always the same stuff.
And the thing is, we both went on a Christian school, and she used to wear that during physical education. And the teachers got really angry.
But that's just it. I mean,
Oh my
I
God.
mean, some men have been ripped off. Have been ripped off for ages, especially by big retailers like H&M, Primark, or many others. And why aren't the bands doing anything about it? I mean, the Ramones unfortunately cannot, because most of them are dead, except for Marky. But
Yeah.
he alone cannot fight. Nirvana cannot do anything about it because they're dead. The Misfits, why isn't Jerry, Doyle, and Michael, or even Danzig, doing something about it?
I don't know. I mean, sometimes. I mean, it's. Here's a rare example that happened to a friend of mine. He bought a shirt. I think it was Guns N' Roses shirt. He had no idea what they were at the time, but he bought the shirt, and when he got home, he listened to them. He actually became a fan of them. That's one of those rare occasions where you buy a shirt and then you're like, I want to
And
know
then
who they
get
are.
into the music afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah, but how many times does that happen? 3 out of 10? 4 out of
Yeah.
10, maybe.
Maybe only 2 out of 10, if that.
Yeah.
I think even less. I think since usually you buy these kind of shirts like at Primark or H&M, it's clothing that isn't made to last. So you wear it for a couple of times and then you throw it out to buy something new.
This is made to last.
Yeah, this one too. But I mean, I would never buy shirts at some of these cheap establishments.
Here's another example.
I don't buy stuff there.
Here's a perfect example. My sister, she recently bought a Led Zeppelin shirt. She knows who Led Zeppelin is because I listen to Led Zeppelin. She kind of likes Led Zeppelin in a way. Not a big fan, but she does 1 or 2 songs. But again, she knows who they are. I'll give her credit for that.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'm like, if you're gonna wear that Led Zeppelin shirt, listen to at least a couple of more songs so you can actually become a fan. Not saying that if she later on she might not be a fan. It's like with your sister, Han. I mean, does she even listen to Battery at all? At least one song?
No.
I mean, she listened to some softer bands, but not black metal.
Then introduce her like something like before Battery. When I started with Battery, I started with Merciful Fate. Maybe Merciful Fate could be a gateway to her to listen to Battery later. Or I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a very thin margin of the people that buy those shirts and eventually become fans of the music. Because most of them, they don't know. I mean, I keep bringing in the Misfits because it's one of the shirts that I've seen the most with the Fiend skull and such. And even I see the bone fingerless gloves. That old black gloves, fingerless with
the skeletons of the
hands.
Yeah.
With the skeleton hands. And I don't know why that sorta has become like emo attire or an emo uniform, which is, like I said,
it's strange.
I'm not advocating that they should not do anything of this stuff just because they want to appeal to new fans, but come on.
At least know what it is.
is, and if you know what it is, and try to listen to some of the stuff. I mean, out of all the examples that we just said, Pink Floyd is actually the softest of the mall.
Yeah.
And it's more listening
Yeah.
than any of the other bands that we just mentioned.
And also going back to what you were saying a moment ago, Artur, about why are bands not doing anything to stop this? At least Alex Skolnick had the balls to call out Kanye when that happened. At least he stood up for that whole thing. But now we get to...
Slayer still calls out the Kardashians with the Kill the Kardashians shirts.
Yeah. But now let's get to the other side of the spectrum when it comes to fashion ML, and that is celebrities or fashion companies that do support metal and do love bands. Like, one of the examples I've seen a lot is Lindsay Lohan. Now, she may be a bit strange to think about, but she has done a lot of rock stuff in her life, so I would expect her to at least listen to some of the more traditional metal bands like Maiden and Metallica.
I probably got one better example. Ice-T. We know him from his rap career, and we know Body Count. So he is the biggest example of someone who listens to, who is an hip-hop icon, but he also has his own metal project. Mm-hmm. And I've seen him featured in several Slayer interviews, in the Cannibal Corpse documentaries as well. So, as much as I like a bit of his hip-hop stuff, at least Ice-T has credentials to
both.
Talk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and plus, not to mention Ice-T over his music career, he's done collabs with Jello Biafra of the Dead Kennedys, 6 Feet Under, even for I think for the most recent one he did, I think it was for the band Upon a Burning Body.
The Born to Raise Hell song
with Motorhead, yeah. Yeah, that's another good one. So yeah, Ice-T is one of those people who is usually known for outside of the rock world, more known for his hip-hop career and Law & Order SVU. But yeah, massive metal guy. Couple other examples that I could think of is one of them being Cameron Diaz. And that's a bit of a weird one, but she's a through and through metalhead herself. She's admitted in interviews that she grew up listening to stuff like Ozzy, AC/DC, and Iron Maiden. And hell, even in the Cannibal Corpse documentary, they talked about for a moment how she was at the front row of that Johnny Depp's Viper Club show that they played for Elijah Blue Allman's birthday. And
we were talking a bit about Cameron Diaz. I forgot one. Jim Carrey. I mean, isn't he the one that also listens to Napalm Death, Cannibal Corpse,
Deicide? And he was responsible for getting Cannibal Corpse in Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. So,
and how they can explain this maybe a whole lot better, but I know of a German example, Nina Hagen. I don't know if Nina Hagen was already a metalhead before she did the Apocalyptica cover with Zeman, but I mean, Anna can explain this a whole lot better if she has ever listened to Nina Hagen.
I mean, Nina Hagen. I mean, Nina Hagen is a punk icon in Germany. A lot of people know her because of her extreme attitude and her being very supportive about kind of outside cultures. I mean, she did, of course, the Apocalyptica collaboration with where they covered Seemann from Rammstein. But I mean, she's done a lot of crazy and strange things. Has covered numerous metal things or rock songs and.
And I do have a bit of a weird example. In this, here in Portugal, we do have a unique music zone which is called Fado. It's melancholic, all guitars and stuff. And if you listen to 1755 by Moonstock in Tremor Day, there is a clear vocal singer. He His name is Paulo Braganza. He is a fado singer, but he said on interviews he grew up listening to Under the Sign of the Black Mark of Bathory. He grew up listening to stuff. His nickname by many is called the Lucifer of Fado because he avoids the tendencies or the conventions of traditional fado. He dresses more darkish, so to say, more ghoulish type. He did this fantastic collaboration with Fernando and Nuclear, and you still hear it if you go live. But there's an example. I mean, fado that has almost nothing to do with heavy metal, and a guy who grew up listening to the more extreme stuff like Bathory and Celtic Frost or Hellhammer. So,
and then another, I guess for German, even though he's half German, half Irish, Michael Fassbender is one of those examples of a big metalhead. Of course, I watched the infamous interview he did. I can't remember what show it was, but he admitted that he grew up listening to Maiden, Metallica, Slayer, Megadeth, Sepultura, and the most obscure one, Crumbsuckers, who are a New York hardcore crossover band that Gary Meskill of Propane was in before Propane. So I'm like, once he brought up Crumbsuckers, I thought to myself, wow, he really is a metal guy. Which is awesome in its own right.
And even in sports, an MMA fighter, Josh Barnett,
he always would come out to Fourth Crusade by Bolt Thrower for UFC.
Yeah. But even he said himself, he is a fan of Bolt Thrower. Come on, his nickname was the War Master. That's a Bolt Thrower song. He loved King Diamond, Cro-Mags, and some of the more obscure stuff too. But even in sports, there are people who love.
Yeah, and now that we go into the wrestling side of things, most recently over the last month or so, Eric Rowan every single week has been wearing a metal shirt. Like
shirt.
He wore Solstafir's shirt. He wore Corpaclani, Ailstorm, Amon Amarth.
He wore freaking Heilung shirt in the Elimination Chamber. That shirt, I found it difficult to recognize. It was Heilung. Wow! He knows Heilung as well?
I mean, look at, shit, I forgot his name. Aleister Black.
Yeah,
but Aleister Black, I saw him train with the De Mysteris Don Satanas. I watched one of the NXT episodes. He was wearing Mayhem. God!
Dolph Ziggler. I mean, he has Dolph Ziggler. I mean, I've seen him wear Iron Maiden, Motley Crue. Even his persona that's kind of
I know that
like an 80s metal look.
Mm-hmm.
I know, and I've seen as much as I don't agree with some of their stuff too much, Metal Injection, doing interviews with some of the WWE superstars saying whose bands they're fans. I mean, there are some who are, I won't say authentic metalheads because I don't like authentic, true, or anything of the stuff, but they're genuine fans. I mean, Shinsuke Nakamura liking Nightwish, Queen, Michael Jackson and stuff, Seth Rollins with Mushroom Head, or even some of the more metalcore stuff.
Yeah.
Braun Strowman amazed me the most, and this is not because it's my pet peeve, but he not only likes Skrillex, which deletes Skrillex, but he listens also to Tool. I mean, you see this mammoth, the monster among men, listening to Tool?
And not to mention, he's friends with Adam Jones as well. And also, I saw him in the music video for Avenged Sevenfold's cover of Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd going, ugh, with his fucking long-ass tongue. I thought that was pretty funny.
Or, here's a perfect example. Chris Jericho.
We brought up Ice-T. Jericho's the equivalent to Ice-T in the wrestling world of a guy who grew up and I watched his documentary, Breaking the Code, so many times. He admitted that he got into wrestling and music at the same time, and he wasn't sure which was going to take off first. In his case, wrestling took off first, and then music came in.
Even his tattoos, I mean, he's got Iron Maiden, AC/DC,
Metallica, Halloween.
Yeah.
And his band is not that bad live. I mean,
yeah, Fozzie's a really good band.
Yeah,
They really
I like
are.
them live.
And
But
Jericho's a
more likely
talented
they'll
singer.
go to either Wacken, Graspop, or Hellfest, then they would go here on a solo, because I don't think there are many fans here of Fozzy here in Portugal, or still relatively unknown.
Yeah, it's only been since 2012 that they've started to rise up as far as fan base goes. Because they've been around, Fozzy been around since the early 2000s, but as a cover band on their first couple albums, and then they start doing original stuff around 2005. That All That Remains album, that's a good album.
Yeah.
And then they had
We forgot
Chasing the
and,
Grail.
we forgot we were talking about wrestling. We forgot the man who revitalized Lemmy's career, Triple H.
Triple H, yeah.
Triple H, yeah.
Even I've seen the documentary 49% motherfucker, 51% son of a bitch, Lemmy's Motorhead's documentary. And it was in fact Triple H that asked Lemmy, and Lemmy wouldn't have any of it, although I might be mistaken, but asked he asked Lemmy if he could record his theme song, is the game. And Lemmy was on a down period, but after a lot of talk, they did. And even Lemmy said it revitalized Motorhead's career.
Yeah.
And then, out of all this time, what do we have? The Game, Line in the Sand, King
King
of
of
Kings.
Kings.
The Game
Yeah.
of Kings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Here's something I don't know if we've talked about. There's a couple of companies, I don't remember the names, that make battle bed, which to me, I'm not the kind of guy who goes to a company, orders a battle vest. I prefer to order the patches and sit down, sew myself. It makes it more personal. Individuality. Yeah, I mean, if you look at our vest, it's a very different vest. I mean, I know Hannah has a Pink Floyd patch. I have a Pink Floyd patch. I don't know. And basically, Hannah's the majority of her patches.
I have here the Borger, I have here Therion, I do have Nile as well.
Like I might have
And
Johnny
we have
Cash. I
all
have,
others, but
I have Nirvana. I have Priest. You name it.
yeah, but we're not going to count but I mean, most of the patches that I got, I didn't get them from the record companies or such. Most of these come from either alternative shops or from the metal festivals, and you can get them quite cheap at the metal.
I usually buy them from the bands directly or from the labels.
I usually buy
Directly.
mine on eBay. So, yeah, it's one of the only places I can buy them. Plus, Hot Topic has one or two patches once they're there. Yeah, I buy them.
Yeah, but
Yeah, and
Hot Topic is questionable to say the least.
I mean, that's where I get most of my shirts because there's no metal shop in my town. It's the only place I can go
Oh, okay.
and buy my shirt.
I do still have some metal shops here in the country, but most of the time I usually go to. Sometimes when I see a patch that I like at a metal show, come here. Sometimes I get them mostly from the festivals. Come here. Like I said.
yeah.
yeah, you guys were talking about patches. I was going back there looking on my shelf to see if I could find my 2 patches I have. I can't find my Borknagar one for some reason, but I do have the Slaughter of the Soul patch. So if I ever get the vest, those are going to be the first 2 to go on. Well, the only 2 that are going to go on for now. And what's cool is that whenever these patches come with the albums, that's an added bonus for me. So, but yeah, as far as like the vests go, like I've always wanted to get a vest or at least get a thick denim jacket and cut the sleeves off to make it look more cool with the edges. but
Well,
I
that's
could
what I
never
did.
find them. But I could never find a good one that would be cost effective as far as like money goes, because I try and manage money a little bit. Even though I'm not one to talk about money management, considering I spend sometimes $100 at a time on porn. So there you go. But eventually, I am one to get a vest so I could put these patches on, and then eventually put my buttons that I do have of not necessarily metal, but like other buttons I've gotten over my life, like a Buckeyes button or a Captain America button. Put everything on. And by the way, I'm not drinking booze, it's just water. And I know people are going to think, why are you drinking water out of a shot glass? I just feel like it, damn you. Shut up.
So what?
Right. So I think we pretty much got everything about the fashion out of the way. Now we move on to this final part of the discussion, and that is censorship in metal.
Oh boy.
Boy.
And this could be very interesting. And I'm going to start off by talking about a little bit about what I have known from documentaries and stories going back to the 80s with the infamous PMRC, Tipper Gore, and Tipper Gore, that ignorant bitch. And so, of course, for those of you who are watching that don't know the story. So during the 80s was a huge time for people as far as music, or in this case, metal. More particularly, the glam stuff was what was reigning supreme during the 80s. And of course, music in general often gets stereotyped with having songs about booze, drugs, or sex, or in some cases, evil stuff. And of course, and because these housewives of America, led by Tipper Gore, they felt that they were not being, quote, good parents by allowing their kids to listen to whatever they want and not knowing what it was about, whether it was within the lyrics or simply looking at the covers or the band names or the artist names, their viewpoints, what have you. They decided to scour through everything musically they possibly could, and they create the Filthy 15, which was 15 songs.
Got it right here.
Right there.
And I do have the list right here.
And won't you go ahead and read that list for us? Because I don't remember every song off the top of my head.
The Filthy 15, the songs that...
I got it right here.
I also have it right here. So...
Alright, yeah.
Number one, or I have Prince with Darling Nikki, Reason, Sex, and Masturbation. Sheena East, Sugar Walls, the description for the censorship, sex. Number 3, Judas Priest, Eat Me Alive, sex and violence. Number 4, Vanity, Strap On Robbie Baby, sex. And what I'm meaning is the reason why it was censored. Number 5, Motley Crue, Bastard, Violence and Language. Motley Crue, the same band that had Shout at the Devil, Cult, that had Smoking in the Boys' Room, and Girls. I'm just saying, it was one. If it was just Motley Crue, they would have the entire Filthy 15.
They probably would.
Then, AC/DC. Let me put my love on you, and I'll let Ricky continue.
Okay, and then we have Black Sabbath, Trash, Drugs and Alcohol. Cyndi Lauper, She Bop. That's a weird one. X, for sex, sexual. Def Leppard, High and Dry, Drugs and Alcohol. Madonna, Dress You Up, sex. Mary Jane's Girl, X, for sex. Merciful
Which song?
Fate.
Which song?
Dress You Up by Madonna. Merciful Fate, Into the Coven, Occult. Twisted Sister, We're Not Gonna Take It, Violent.
Especially with a cartoon like video.
Yeah.
Venom, Possessed, Occult. And last but not least, Wasp, Animal, Fuck Like a Beast. Sex.
So with the Filthy 15, basically the PMRC was formed as a result, or before that, to try and target these artists over how they're supposedly killing the youth of America with smut and violence and drugs. But yet,
And the occult.
Yeah.
the very same America that said the same thing in the 70s with Little Richard, with Screaming Jay Hawkins, and Elvis Presley.
I mean, here's the letter that the PMRC would send to parents, which, let me read a couple of lines from it that really got me. Today's young people are surrounded by music, rock music. It is so pervasive that we almost forget it's even there. But no mistake, is there too much of it drawing more and more destruction message into the minds of our children? Question mark. The average teenager listens to rock music 4 to 6 hours daily. Cute. Try 24 hours a day. There's more hours of rock music than hours of classroom instruction. Unfortunately, in much of that music, the message is negative, even harmful. That's bullshit.
yeah,
This especially on the peak of MTV, when it was really music for all instead
Yeah.
of being Jersey Shore 24.
Yeah. So, basically, the PMRC back in the 80s, for those who don't know, they were trying their hardest to try and censor all these bands and artists from doing what they love to do, and that's make music about what they feel or what they're into. Thank God that during this time period, Dee Snider of Twisted Sister stood up for everyone, dressing up how he would look like in the band with the poofy hair, the tight jeans with his fucking bulge, the shirts, the vests, and all that shit. Yeah, and would go out there, but he would shock everyone by speaking intelligently and eloquently about why the PMRC's ruining people's lives and children's tastes in music.
Has always been, for years, a sort of a prejudice or an image related to metalheads. That we are dumb, that we cannot speak, that we are just
Knuckle draggers.
drugs like
Yeah.
that. But in reality, I know metalheads who are lawyers, I know metalheads who are doctors, engineers, architects. Metal is not something that leaves you dumb. It is something.
Exactly.
It is a way of life. But it doesn't. But if it is makes you dumb, then I don't know what current pop is.
So yeah, of course, and then eventually after the whole Tipper Gore era was pretty much dead once Al Gore tried to run for president. And it's like, I look at that whole thing like Al thinking, we're trying to get this youth vote, this PMRC shit ain't gonna help, so Tipper, bitch, you need to shut the fuck up. Because you're not helping my case.
The one thing that I think came good out of it was the parental advisory sticker.
Yeah.
Because I was about to get to that too. Yeah, after all that went down, albums that had questionable content was slapped with the parental advisory sticker, which they thought they were trying to help people keep from listening to this stuff for being too sexual or violent or too evil. But yet, and King Diamond said it best, it had the opposite effect. It was basically an advertisement for these bands, for people to be like, ooh, this seems edgy. I want to know what this is like.
And Alice Cooper, we were talking about this, and I mentioned Little Richard and all those guys. Alice Cooper, after the infamous chicken incident in Reading back in the 70s, he was banned from going to England. But then what happened? It made the British want Alice even more. As I said, he sold every ticket for Wembley, and this is the old Wembley where it could get also up to 90,000 people in the stadium. They sold the album went straight to number one. It's reverse psychology. If you put that sticker or anything against it makes people want it more. And
Exactly.
This was more in the 90s. This has to do a little bit with Germany. Cannibal Corpse, the infamous trio of covers: Eaten Back to Life, Butchered at Birth, and
Tomb of the Mutilated.
Tomb of the Mutilated. Yeah. I mean, I love the original covers, but in Germany, they had to make new covers out of it. It's not Hatter's fault. It's not the metalheads' fault. It's not the German government. But they had to remake entire covers for it. And not just Germany, most other countries. And I heard Corpse Grinder on an interview saying that to this day, they cannot play anything from Tomb of the Mutilated. At least Tomb of the Mutilated.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the other big infamous censorship and metal moment was the Cannibal Corpse stuff in Germany, even New Zealand, Australia, and Korea even, those first three albums.
I mean, look at this anti-poster in Germany. This was in 84.
Really?
Yeah, it's in, and look.
Poland,
It
Hell's
just
Bells.
means, Hell's Bells.
Yeah, no, but it wasn't like an I can say DC, which, again, I understand why Germany does this kind of stuff. I mean, Hannah can explain it better, since she's German. So, yeah.
I don't really... The thing is, I don't really care about censorship because I can get my music anyway. There have only been 2 cases where I had problems with censorship here, and that was first when I wanted to buy Steel Panther records.
Oh,
Because you can't buy them here. They are banned. They're completely banned. You can't buy them here.
Steel Panther is banned in Germany?
Yeah, because of the sexual lyrics. I mean, you just order them from the UK, and they do not check the CDs when they come through the border control or whatever. So I simply bought them in the UK, and everything's fine, and they can play shows here and play all the songs, but the albums cannot be sold. And I think 2 or 3 of them. And the other time was when Rammstein released their latest record, Liebe ist für alle da.
Yeah.
I mean, the album was out of market for a month, and then the German government decided to ban Ich tu dir weh, the second song on the record. And I mean, and they announced it, and every record, I mean, it sold out so quickly, and then it was banned, and people tried to get the uncensored versions from like everywhere, and then after like a few months or so, they revoked their decisions, and the album could be sold completely again. But I mean, the only thing it did to Rammstein was boost the sales of the record.
Oh, of course. I mean, here's another one, and we talked about this in chat. Sabaton, one of the best bands in the world. When they go to Germany, they cannot play The Final Solution. It's obvious why they cannot play it, even though it's...
Not just that. They cannot play The Final Solution nor The Rise of Evil.
Yeah. Even though it's an amazing song, a beautiful song.
I agree.
In Germany, it's not...
No,
it would never, ever happen.
No,
That's
the thing
is...
be appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
And but this actually happened with Accept. We all know the Fast as a Shark song that has the I know I die part.
Mm-hmm.
I've listened to Udo, Hoffman, and Baltz. They tell exactly the same thing. In France and Poland, they cannot play the Haidaya stuff because
it's highly inappropriate because of history.
No, but the reason why they say that they can play Fast as a Shark, they cannot play that. It's because they connect they somehow connect it with Nazism.
That's.
Yeah.
I mean, we're kind of sensitive in some European countries, especially Germany, when it comes to these kind of aspects. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just theoretically speaking, if a band would sing about lynching or something like that, it wouldn't be that appropriate to play it in certain regions.
I have a question for Hannah, and maybe some of you can understand. When Slayer comes to Germany, do they play Angel of Death?
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure.
I mean, I saw them at Wacken playing it.
Oh no, just asking because Angel of Death.
Even in France, when I was in Hellfest about 3 years ago, they played Angel of Death. There is no problem to it.
No, I'm just asking because it's the space based off the Doctor.
Yeah, Joseph.
Yeah, but the thing is, they're not glorifying it.
True.
Of course.
True. No, I'm just asking because I was questioning.
Yeah, because that would have led to perhaps a little like a contradiction thing with Germany when it comes to stuff like this. Yeah, and that goes back to the.
Yeah, just the thing is with everything with World War II related, Nazi Hitler related.
But then
it's a topic
also,
you better leave off stage. I mean, it's the same thing. There are a lot of bands that are banned here. For example, Graveland from Poland. You cannot buy their stuff here. They cannot play shows here.
But then we also, and Hannah now touched on a good point. We also have to talk about bands that are banned in various countries in the world, and we have examples about it. Behemoth, Rotting Christ that were banned recently, Vital Remains that are banned in several different countries, Mayhem. I mean, but this also drives another topic on the censorship point. We talked about government censorship, the Filthy 15, and everything that happened, especially all the trials that were with suicides of the teens with Judas Priest and ACT and stuff. But then we have to talk about, but then we have to talk about religious censorship. All these religious groups that, for some dumbfound reason or another, the so-called morality knights censoring all this stuff. I mean, Behemoth had his shares with the Polish church. Rotting Christ not so much, but all these different bands who pull or push the occult, Satanism, or any of this stuff, getting their troubles. And this goes, unfortunately, to the infamous church burnings.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say the Norwegian scene kind of gets the bad reputation of those infamous church burnings, and that situation with Boss, and what happened at the very end of the
Hieronymus, Burzum, and all that stuff. Yeah. I mean,
but there's also something that happened here in Germany when this kind of black metal band formed, and the guys in the band killed a friend of theirs or somebody of their age. But in Germany, the thing is, everything was politically motivated and not religiously motivated. And the thing is, but it gets often overlooked. But in general, I would say Germany usually censors mostly on political reasons and not so much on religious or sexually related reasons.
But and here's another example that I just remembered. That Niall was touring with Belfagor in Russia. I think it was in Russia. And while at the airport, Helmut, I think it's Helmut, the vocalist of Belfagor, he was confronted by some of these religious zealots who started to insult Helmut saying that you are not allowed to play here, you have to leave, and all this stuff, and to the point that this guy was starting to poke the bear, so to say. And as they were leaving already with the suitcases, he started to push Helmut, and if it wasn't for Carl Sanders putting himself in the middle between both of them, I don't know how that would have ended. I mean, Helmut would
probably
have
would have ended up in a big fight.
Yeah, but I mean, this goes to the point that why there needs to be censorship, and especially recently. I mean, recently we still have, as much as we don't want to admit it, we still have censorship. I mean, I remember hearing the news of a Mastodon video that was censored because of the women. Come on. Have you never heard of Motley Crue, Poison, Cinderella, Rats, Stripe?
I was gonna bring that something else up when it comes to the sexual aspects of the censorship within metal or music in general, or vice versa. Is that Chris Jericho brought this story up on his Loudwire Wikipedia Fact or Fiction episode when he was talking about the music video for the song Enemy off of All That Remains.
Yeah, I know.
Talking about how it couldn't have been played on MTV because they thought it was promoting suicide. But yeah, you have hip-hop artists getting fucking shot in music videos, blood everywhere, but yet they still play that. And it's all because they're a bigger artist than you. That's why. It's like, are you kidding me?
And you also have, and we were talking about the Ramones, Psychotherapy, the music, the song and music video. It had the zombies and stuff, but they could not play it on MTV. But on the other hand, Thriller by Michael Jackson, that also had zombies, it was played. Double standards.
Yeah. It's like some of this stuff is all personal agendas and shit like that, and that just sticks to my crawl.
Here's one that I just remembered: Striper, one of the biggest bands of the '80s, Christian metal band. They're people in their own religion. They were saying you're Satanist, when in fact they weren't. I mean, come on. Striper.
Yeah, a Christian band getting claimed as Satanists. Oh my god.
But then again, all those who said that Striper was anti-Christian are the very same evangelists that a few months later they were caught for illicit actions.
Yeah. And that kind of course, gets into the bigger discussion, which is religious hypocrisy and stuff like that. And, of course, that's so much of a broad conversation that's not worth getting into too much.
Especially now recently with the closed pedophilia.
Yeah. And, I mean, I'll just say this from my perspective as far as, like...
Give each one ours.
Yeah. I was going to say, as far as my perspective when it comes to, like, religious censorship within metal or music, I mean, especially like we were bringing up with Cannibal Corpse in Germany, how, I was going to bring this point up, like, Pat O'Brien of Cannibal Corpse put it perfectly. They couldn't play Hammer Smashed Face, but they were allowed to play Fucked with a Knife. What? I don't understand, and it just gets to the final point. It's like these people just have too much time on their hands, and they just like to nitpick every little thing about bands and what they sing about, or who they are.
Yeah,
it's.
And I'm going to ask another question, because you pointed out the Angel of Death stuff. I don't know if Hannah has seen Marduk live yet. If they are allowed to play Panzer Division Marduk, but
I haven't seen them live so far.
Yeah, I thought that you had seen it, and I remembered asking about Panzer Division, but no story.
Yeah. I mean, several aspects go into this. Some of it's religious agenda, political agenda that affects all of this, and it's just, why do we have to have these problems? I don't understand. And Ice-T put it perfectly in the Cannibal Corpse documentary, perhaps the only reason why these people do this is because they're afraid people are actually going to do what these songs are saying, which the most cases of that happening is people that are not mentally all there up there. I think that's the best way to go about it. Like those, Artur brought up the suicide trials with Priest and Ozzy, the most infamous one being Judas Priest, because...
He had also troubles with it.
Yeah. But for those who are watching that don't know the Judas Priest trial, basically in '89 they were hit with a subpoena because they learned that they were being sued for the deaths of two young boys in '85. Well, one died immediately in '85, the other died a couple of years later, from a suicide pact when they were listening to the cover of Spooky Tube's Better By You, Better Than Me off Stained Class, because they thought there was a subliminal message that said, do it. And these two boys end up shooting themselves. One of them lived, but died from complications in the hospital 2 years later. And the boy who survived, wrote a letter saying that the music mesmerized them into believing the only answer to life was death, and made them do that. So then we get to the trial in 1990, and pretty much Judas Priest just basically came out there and said that the reason why these kids were doing this were perhaps for alcohol reasons, like they were drunk, or drugs, they were high, or maybe they were very depressed, because they weren't being raised properly by their families. It's all a matter of, like, what you're doing as a parent in some cases. Maybe you were a bad parent to these kids, and that you didn't treat them the way they should have been treated, and that's what led them to do this kind of stuff. Or they were drunk, and they didn't know better, or were high, and didn't know any better. Like, it's like those parents read too much into that whole thing, and it was clear-cut and obvious that once the trial was dead, the judge even realized this whole thing was ridiculous, and thank God Judas Priest were found not guilty for that shit. Otherwise, if they would have been found guilty, who the fuck knows what would have happened if that went down the way it could have went down. But point of it is, with all the trials and stuff like that, and especially the next big one being the whole Columbine tragedy, and how Manson, and to a lesser extent Rammstein, even getting blamed for the kids doing what they were doing. And I'm thinking to myself, it's not the music that's affecting these kids, it's the fact that perhaps no one would listen to these kids when they were depressed or getting picked on. No one would listen to them. But then again, it's also a mental thing. Like I said, they're not all there up there.
And every time there's a school shooting, there's something about it. Who are the first things to be blamed? Either metal music or video games. And,
yes.
Yeah.
And they cannot find any other than the easy prey target. And I'll just give out my point of view. Then Ricky and Hannah afterwards. I mean, I lived in. I don't live, but I live in a country that had censorship, and it was not that long ago. It was 35 years ago. I wasn't born at that time, thankfully. But for those of you that don't know, and I'll explain this, Portugal, between 1930 and 1974, we were under a dictatorship. Not 1928. From 28 to 74, we were under a dictatorship. It took forever. But still to this day, those very same demons of the dictatorship, censorship, many others are still very much present. And you don't hear that much censorship here in Portugal, although fake news are all over. But that's a whole different story.
Yeah.
But still to this day, I mean, censorship, it's something that comes from the dictatorship. What's the first paragraph of even the American Constitution is not freedom of expression. It's on the Human Rights Bill and such, freedom of expression. Then why do we have these self-righteous organizations, whether it's the government mandated organizations, or even the church, do stuff like this? It's stupid. We think that we are free, but in reality, that's more what I get. I mean, censorship laws, and I'm not going to say fight the power and stuff, but there's something that needs to be done, especially against these self-righteous, moral knights, or as Razorfist once put it, the social justice.
The SJWs, yeah. All right, Ricky.
The whole thing about censorship, I mean, I've always, like Artur said, here in America, censorship could be very, very, very persuasive. As in, a video could be uploaded in at 1 in the afternoon. 2 minutes later, it's already censored. Like here in America, it's we're very it's a conservative because there are people that they don't want the youth to. I don't want to say rebel, but they want to keep them close-minded. They don't want them to be open-minded. They don't want to see different horizons, different point of views, etc. And here, I mean, if you look at places like Israel, places like the Middle East, in the Global Metal documentary, the people wearing the metal shirts, they had to, after the metal shirt, they had to remove it and put on their usual
uniform.
Their usual uniform, and if they would have not done that, they would have been beaten by the religious police because of the wearing a Slayer shirt or wearing something as simple as a Pink Floyd shirt, which is pretty stupid. And I just think the whole censorship is pretty dumb. I mean, I do agree there's some things that they're censored for a reason, but there's some things that they're censored because, I want to be censored and fuck you and all that. But right now, as the world is, we need to stop the whole censorship thing and take it as it is. I mean, if there's a song that says some horrific stuff, let it be how it is. Art, because music is art, should not be tampered with anything. I mean, if this was in the 1600s, 1500s, in the Renaissance era, if Leonardo da Vinci would have painted something out there, would it be censored? No, you would take it as a piece of art.
Yeah.
But and I'm coming here from Texas, which is a really Republican state, very conservative state. I've never dealt that problem with censorship in my life, or maybe 1 or 2 times about religious fanatics telling me I'm going to hell and all that, which I'm like, yeah, sure, yeah, I'm going to hell, yeah, sure. But like I don't know. I mean, it's something that should be dealt with, I guess, more intelligibly, not going all dumb, like, because there's some dumb people.
And I forgot to say, if it's censored for one, it's censored for another. No double standards.
Yeah. And another thing I completely forgot to mention, especially in today's world, censorship's pointless because with the advent of the internet now being as big as it is, like kids today, like even 10-year-old kids will have iPhones. And you could go on your iPhone, go to the Safari app, you could look up whatever you want, sexually or evil or drugs or whatever. It's like, what's the point of censorship here in America, at least? Because almost every kid I know has an iPhone or an iPad or a PlayStation 4, and you could go on the internet, you could search whatever you want. Video games like Call of Duty that have blood and guts and all that shit. It's like, what's the point? At this point, what is the point of censorship in today's America now when we got all this stuff?
Yeah.
And now, Anna's take.
Anna?
Well, I think I live in a very fortunate country when it comes, because in Germany usually, well, apart from that Steel Panther stuff, not much is really censored. Because of our history. I mean, usually, back in the day, everything was censored, and nowadays, the government has kind of moved 180 degrees from that, and usually doesn't interfere too much. Only when it comes to political, questionable content. So, usually, I can get whatever I want to get, and as Levi said before, in the era of internet, you can get everything you want, and I think that's a good thing. I think nothing art related should be censored, as long as it's not incorrect. I mean, coming from Germany, if it has something to do with, for example, Nazi stuff, I mean, I can understand why it should be censored here. But in general, I think they shouldn't interfere too much with the art and media we consume. I think censorship, just put it away, leave it be, and, well, yeah.
Yeah, and then the other thing I was going to mention, too, with how I feel censorship's pointless, especially here in America nowadays because of the internet, and people could get whatever off the internet or have stuff that you could use to watch or play, whatever, that's violent or sexual. Like, and also with word censorship, like speech censorship, I absolutely hate because First Amendment rights here, freedom of speech. We could say whatever we want, you know? So if I want to say curse words like fuck, shit, damn it, bitch, whatever, no one should care. It's just words. It shouldn't affect someone's everyday life or how they think or how they see things in the world. It's just words. It's not going to hurt you. Unless you're bullying someone, then yes, I could understand if someone's bullying you with hateful or hurtful words, then I could understand because I've been a victim of bullying when I was in school. I'm pretty sure most of us were victims of getting picked on because of what we liked or how we look. Like, hell, even perhaps some of my friends who wore metal shirts in school probably got picked on for that, and that's not good. That's not cool. So I could get from that perspective, but like in everyday conversations, when we use those kind of words, who cares? I don't understand. Like, even if you're a religious zealot, you shouldn't care. Because it's not going to hurt you. It's not going to kill you. Just stop. And that's all there is to it. And I think we pretty much got everything off of our chest. Thank God, because I feel a lot better to let all that go. And I'd be curious to hear if anyone watching this in the comments, of whether it's in the live chat of the premiere or in the comments below, what are your views on fashion in metal, or censorship in metal, or fashion and censorship in general?
I'll just leave here with a bit of a side note. Banger, please do a censorship in metal debate.
Hell yes, that would be a cool idea.
Yeah.
Is when you should do. It's not if you should do, it's when you should do.
Yep. And I think that will pretty much wrap up this episode. And this was a really intense episode as far as bringing out personal feelings, so this was a good release for us. So, but this will be a once in a blue moon occurrence where we do discussions as opposed to lists, which next time, episode 10, is going to be a unique episode. The perfect 10. Too bad he's gone from WWE. Sad face.
Hey, no.
But episode 10 is going to be a very unique episode because we're going to be doing our top 10 non-metal artists, whether it be hard rock, rap, pop, country, classical, jazz, what have you. We're going to be discussing what we like outside of heavy metal. Anything.
No, I'm kidding.
So that's going to be an interesting episode. I know I'm going to have a lot of thinking to do and go back to listen to non-metal stuff that I do enjoy from time to time and put together that list. But final words from anyone?
9.
9.
Insert Inglorious Bastards meme.
Indeed. But at any rate, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, if you want to see more episodes of the Horsemen podcast. When episode 10 is going to happen, we're going to have to work that out at some point. I know that on the weekend of March 7th, I won't be around. I'll be in Georgia, which is strange because I'm going to go visit my aunt and her husband for a few days.
Is there a metal show in Georgia around that time?
I don't know. I don't think I'll have the money to do that by then. I don't have that much money right now. But anyways, thank you guys for watching episode 9, Fashion and Censorship and Metal of the Horsemen podcast. I've been Levi. We have had Artur, Hannah, and Ricky. We'll see you next time.